Hello everyone, I'm Craig, this is Running Cafe. I hope you're well and you're smashing your running. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Mount to Coast running shoe. These are a pair of shoes designed for long distance ultra runners, and Mount to Coast themselves describe them as being perfect for distances of 100k or more, and even being brilliant for multi-day stage races. Before we kick off, two things I need to make clear. Firstly, Mount to Coast reached out to me personally and sent me a pair of these shoes. However, they are not influencing anything I will say in this video. The review is completely my own opinion, and I've now done over 650 miles in these shoes, and I will share my honest thoughts on them. I even ran the first 52 miles of a 100-mile race recently in these exact shoes, the Thames Path 100, and I feel like I've got some experience using them in a real-life ultra running race scenario. Number two, this is my very first gear review video, and it's certainly my first running shoe review video. Personally, I've never seen myself as a shoe geek, and I like to keep things extremely simple. I tend to find a shoe that works for me and I stick to it. And I usually just have two shoes in my rotation, a road shoe and a trail shoe. At the moment, it's the Mount to Coast R1s for my road shoes. I've got Hoka Speedgoat 6s for my trail shoe. And once in a blue moon, I'll use something like the Salomon Wild Crosses when I'm on a trail surface which is particularly muddy or boggy, like a cross-country setting, just for a bit of extra stability. So I keep things very simple, and I never really delve too deeply into shoe statistics or information. So I am feeling pretty nervous and well and truly out of my depth.
You're getting out of your depth, Alan. People get out of their depth, they end up drowning.
Just calm down, it's just a chat show.
Do you want to get involved? Do you want to get involved in this world?
All right, let's get into it. My first ever running shoe review. I like the shoe and I think it's really good. There you have it, my honest review of the Mount to Coast R1. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I'm Craig, this is Running Cafe, and I'll see you in the next one. Only joking. All right, let's give it an actual proper go. The first thing I want to mention is the experience of unboxing these shoes. So they come in a standard running box. You open them up and you've obviously got the shoes themselves. But you also have a handy bag which can be used to store the shoes in when they're not being used. And they also come with a pretty big poster summarising the achievement of Justin Montague, who in spring of 2024 ran the 854-mile multi-day stage race ultra, known as the Joggle or the Joggle. I've got no idea how to pronounce it. It starts from the most northern point of Scotland and it ends in the most southerly point of England, covering 854 miles. Not only did he win the race, but he knocked almost 40 miles off of the previous record, and he smashed all of the records for each and every stage of the race. So that is a pretty remarkable achievement, and he was wearing the Mount to Coast R1s in the process. Did these shoes help him achieve that incredible feat? Who knows? But he had these on his feet, and I think it's just a pretty cool touch, really, summarising that in a poster when you get these shoes. So it was a really charming experience to open these shoes out of the box, and it was just a nice touch, I thought. So this is a company who clearly cares about the consumer experience and has attention to detail. One thing to mention about this shoe and Mount to Coast's website in general is for each of their products, they've got tons of information about the shoe. So they've got pictures of it from all angles, videos of it in action. They've got videos and information about their proprietary technology, their designs, which are incorporated into the shoe. So if you're someone that likes to delve deep into information about a particular product, this is definitely a good shoe for that. Moving on to the shoe itself, this is a very cool looking retro minimalistic shoe. There is a choice of colours, but I just went for the standard white colour, and it just gives me a really minimalistic retro-ish vibe, kind of like you'd see in an 80s film of people in a gym working out. And personally, I really like the way the shoe looks. It's definitely something that I would wear out and about in my day-to-day life outside of running, which is always a nice touch for a running shoe. Some people don't care about how a shoe looks and they just just care about the nitty-gritty stats and its performance. So let's get into those. In terms of weight, this is a pretty lightweight shoe. The US male size 9 or the UK male size 8 shoe clocks in at just 240 grams, and they are a very light feeling shoe. I've got to be honest, when I've been running my miles in these during my training sessions, there are times when I forgot I've actually had them on. That sounds very cheesy, but it's absolutely true. Sometimes you are running with a shoe and it just feels like you're carrying around bricks on your feet, and that's not a good position to be in at all. So I would highly recommend these for long runs in particular, but even just day-to-day training runs. It's good just to keep you feeling less fatigued, keep your energy up, and to keep your feet feeling as light and free as possible. The heel to toe drop is 8 millimeters. In terms of stack height, 35 millimeters for the heel and 27 millimeters for the forefoot. So sitting pretty comfortable in a regular running shoe range there. In terms of stability, Mount to Coast describe these shoes themselves as being on the lower end of the spectrum and closer to being neutral. If you're someone who's prone to overpronating, perhaps these aren't the best shoe in the world to try. Getting on to the geography of the shoe itself, it has a jackered, double-layered upper, and it actually has quite a few perforations in the top. It feels very comfortable to wear, and just walking out and about with it or running, you can certainly feel the breeze, the air going through these holes, and it's certainly kept my feet feeling well ventilated, especially during hot days when I've been running, which is always good. A very unique thing about this running shoe, which I've never seen on a road shoe before, but then again, I haven't really used too many road shoes in my time. I like to keep things simple and stick to what I know. There's actually 2 ways to adjust the fit of this shoe. So you've obviously got the standard lacing at the top near the tongue of the shoe, but you also have something mimicking something like a Salomon trail shoe at the bottom, so you can actually adjust it from the forefoot and from the top near the tongue. And Mount to Coast call this their tuned fit dual lacing system, and the reason they put that in is to allow ultra runners the ability to customize the fit of the shoe whilst they're wearing it with long distance in mind. So if you're prone to swelling feet, or if you just need to make them a bit looser for whatever reason, that's a nice option to have. Personally, I've not touched the bottom forefoot adjustment mechanism at all. I've left it as it came out of the box and I've just used the top one. That's worked absolutely fine for me. If you get these shoes, I would just say have a play with them, see what you think works best. Inside the shoe itself, they have what they're calling their dual zone zero sag inserts. So they say they've designed these with help from the automotive industry with the aim of keeping degradation during your runs as low as possible to keep you feeling comfortable, keep the bounce and cushioning as high as possible throughout your long runs. And I can personally vouch for this aspiration. I've always felt during long runs, even my 100-mile race where I spent 50 miles in these, they felt comfortable throughout, and I didn't feel like they were losing too much of their bounce throughout. And most importantly, they just kept me feeling comfortable during that long run. In terms of the midsole base of this shoe, they use what they describe as light cell material. This is a compound that they've created themselves from scratch. There's a fancy process for how they've done it on the website, and that process ends with infusing pure nitrogen into the material, and as a result, they're saying it's 50% lighter than your classic EVA or EVA foam, which features on many running shoes in the market, and they're also saying it gives you a 45% better energy return. So some pretty bold claims to be making, and from my experience, this shoe feels incredibly bouncy, incredibly easy to run in, and the energy return is pretty decent over long distances. I've even found myself on occasion just walking in these when I've got some music playing, and it has been a bit difficult to resist having a little dance just because of how bouncy they feel. Moving on to the outsole of the shoe, I'll be honest, this was the thing that really concerned me when I got them out of the box for the first time. It looked on the eye very light on the tread, and I thought I would be slipping and sliding all over the place like I may as well have been running on ice. However, I have not slipped once in these shoes, even when it's been raining. Maybe I've been lucky on occasion, but I have found the tread to be pretty decent. Bearing in mind I've kept the majority of my runs to the road surfaces, which these shoes are specifically designed for, However, I have on occasion ventured onto the trail and I have had a pretty decent time with them. However, I do need to say that these have been very compact and easygoing trails, not too much crazy technical terrain. And despite the fact that I'm now 650 miles in with these shoes, the tread is still held up pretty well. However, if I did venture onto the trail a lot more than I have done over the past couple of months using them, I bet it would be a different story and the tread would be virtually non-existent on these. So just bear that in mind if you are planning on making these more of a multi-purpose shoe when it comes to terrain. Also, another quirk to mention about the outsole is that Mount to Coast themselves give a disclaimer on their website saying that the material it's made from gives off a squeaky sound when you're on a smooth surface like a wooden floor or similar. So I took the liberty to do a squeak test and I will share the results with you now. Honestly, the squeakiness doesn't bother me at all, and I've not noticed it once when I've actually been out and about on the roads or on the trail. If you're someone who will get bothered by squeakiness, then perhaps this isn't the shoe for you, but honestly, I think it's quite funny and it's quite a charming quirk of this shoe. Another thing to mention is that this shoe features a wide base platform and a pretty wide toe box, which was a delight for someone like myself who is very lucky to be cursed with having wide feet. In day-to-day shoes, I'm a size 8, but after having spoken to the Mount to Coast team, they advised me to go for a size 8.5 with these shoes just to be safe, and I've had no problems whatsoever. There's plenty of space in the toe box. They fit really well, and yeah, it's just been a pleasure really discovering these shoes, which really took me by surprise. Overall, the Mount to Coast R1, in my opinion, is a fantastic road shoe for long distance runners like myself. It's incredibly versatile, it's got lots of cushioning, it's bouncy, responsive, it looks fantastic, and I very much plan to replace these with exactly the same shoe. Like I said, I'm not very knowledgeable in road shoes. I get one model that I like and then I tend to stick to it. In terms of price, this is kind of in what I would call the middle of the market. It's £150 for us Brits and it's $160 for those in America. Personally, I think that is pretty reasonable given that a running shoe purchase is a big investment in not only protecting your feet and your foot health, but also to having fun and performing to your very best when you're running, which is a fantastic thing in my opinion. There you have it. That was my very first attempt at reviewing a running shoe. I hope I did an alright job. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I've been Craig, this is Running Cafe, and I'll see you again in the next one.